Sahanavavatu Sahanau bhunaktu Sahaviryam karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma vidvishavahai Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Good evening. Welcome back to our Upanishad class. So, in the first three sessions, we had a general overview of the Vedas and Upanishads, which are a part of the Vedas. We found different meanings of the word Upanishads, and also we found Dasha Upanishads, the 10 Upanishads, which captures the essence of the entire visions of the Upanishad. So, with that introduction, we can get started with each of these Upanishads. 10 Upanishads. We found that Ishakena Kata Prashna, like that we had a shloka also. And I mentioned that if you follow that order, you should start with Ishavasya Upanishad. But starting with Ishavasya Upanishad is not a right way to start because it can confuse people. So there is no defined order. We can always pick whatever order that is convenient to us. And I'm picking Mandukya Upanishad, there is a reason for that. In the Chinmaya Mission Study Circle, or in the Chinmaya 3-year coaching classes for the teachers, Swami Dayananda Saraswati, when he conducted the first teachers training course, he selected this Upanishad with a reason. The reason is, this is not a small Upanishad, not a big Upanishad. And second thing is, this is relatively a structured Upanishad. Unlike Bhagavad Gita, where you have a proper structure, proper sequence, you may not see that in the Upanishad. It's like a spiritual poetry. So we need to get into the Upanishad with that spirit. So Mundaka Upanishad is one of the relatively structured Upanishad. And another Upanishad is, it defines, the content is very profound. So because of this reason, Swamiji selected it, and I'm following that path. I also found that is very useful. So that's the reason. If anybody wonders, why did we pick Mundaka Upanishad? So this is not like unlike our Bhagavad Gita or Yoga Sutra class, we are not going through verse by verse. We will come back to that after we do this iteration. In this iteration, we are going to see the essence of that Upanishad. And then once we cover the 10 Upanishad, probably if everybody likes, we can definitely pick each of these Upanishad and go through that study. So with that introduction, probably we can get started because we have a lot of topic to cover. But one word of just a disclaimer, please give your full attention. Now, the first 3 classes where we were talking about the introduction, this is the substance. This is the highest spiritual teaching in the world. It is so profound. So please give your attention. If you have any questions, let's discuss that at the end during the Q&A. And if that clarity is not there, I will do my best to give that clarity. Okay, so with that, we can get started. So the first topic we want to do is a general overview of the Mundaka Upanishad. So we saw that there are 4 Vedas, and each Upanishad should be belonging to one of these Vedas. And interestingly, Mundaka Upanishad is part of the Atharva Veda. Rik, Yajus, Sama, Atharva are the 4 Vedas, and Mundaka Upanishad is part of the Atharva Veda. There is another popular Upanishad which is part of the Atharva Veda, which is Mandukya Upanishad. So these 2 Upanishads, which are considered as the one of the best Upanishad, is coming from Atharva Veda. Still, you see people talking low about the Atharva Veda. So don't worry about that. This is the fact. So these 2 popular Upanishads. A lot of people think that Rig Veda, talk big about Rig Veda, but out of the 10 Upanishad, there is only 1 Upanishad comes from Rig Veda. So that's another fact. So this is part of the Atharva Veda. And this Upanishad is presented as a dialogue between 2 sages, means one sage called Angiras with a householder called Shaunaka. So this Shaunaka is a worldly person. He used to do a lot of charity, and he approaches a successful professional in the world, approaches a sage and asks for this teaching. That's very interesting. You will see Shaunaka in different contexts. So don't compare that, because the Naimisharanya, there is another Shaunaka. So this means another Shaunaka. And this Upanishad has 64 mantras. That's why I said this is not too small, but this is not too big. 64 mantras, because why we call it as mantra? Gita, we call it as verse, but here we call it as mantra. Why it is part of the Veda. So when something is part of the Veda, everything is mantra. Even though it comes under the Upanishad section, it is called mantra. And this Upanishad has 6 chapters, and each of these chapters are known as Mundaka. That is how the book got the name, Mundaka Upanishad. And each chapter has 2 subsections, which is called Khanda. So 3 chapters, 3 Mundakas, and 6 Khandas are there in this Upanishad. This is a very general overview. Let's see a little bit more thing. And etymologically, what does Mundaka Upanishad means? We can take 2 possible meanings. One is, it is called a shaved head or a shaved. Mundaka, Mundanam, all those words comes from there. Another meaning is Mundaka can be called as your head itself. If you take the first meaning, which is Mundaka, it means the knowledge that shaves or liberates, the knowledge that shaves off all the impurities or the ajnanas. That is one meaning. And if you take the other word, like head, this is considered as one of the most prominent Upanishad. Just like the head is the most prominent organ of your body, this Upanishad is one of the most prominent literature in the world of Upanishads. That's another interesting fact. Let's continue. So the next thing is the biggest cultural impact. This is a very widely translated Upanishad. Shankaracharya wrote a commentary, of course, and his disciple Anandagiri also got a sub-commentary of this Upanishad, and it is translated into almost all the languages, and all the great masters of the modern times, like Swami Chinmayananda, all the great masters have given commentaries for this Upanishad. And the greatest cultural impact of this Upanishad is what? The national motto of India. Satyameva Jayate. You all might have heard of that. Satyameva Jayate. That national motto of India, means you can see that in our India's emblem. That Satyameva Jayate is taken from this Upanishad. It means truth only triumphs. Satyam eva Jayate. This is Mundaka Upanishad, 3rd Mundaka, Pratama Khanda, 6th mantra. 3rd Mundaka, Pratama Khanda, 6th mantra. Satyameva Jayate. This comes from this Upanishad. So these are some generic facts. And then let's go to the Shanti Pada or the Shanti Mantra of this Upanishad. As you know, right, every Upanishad has a Shanti Mantra. It's a convention or a tradition. Before you commence the study of any Upanishad, you do a prayer. The prayer asks for some grace from Ishvara. Ishvara, the higher power. You're going to understand who is Ishvara, everything, right? So the Ishvara, we are going to pray for something. For what? You need Shanti in your mind. Your mind has to be quiet. It has to be receptive. It has to be ready for teaching. So we are praying this Shanti mantra. You can see at the end of every Shanti mantra, there is a Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. 3 times the Shanti is uttered because we seek Shanti. Shanti, the word comes from the root Sham, means quietude. So you want quietude or means Shanti from 3 sources. The first is called Adi Devika, from the nature and its mighty forces. Because if the nature goes wrong, naturally means I will have a lot of problems, like a tsunami or huge rain, natural disaster, everything. Second is Adi Bhautika, something external to me, like it means conventionally a mosquito, a tiger, or some other disturbances, some terrorist. So whatever it is, these I want peace and Shanti, quietude from all the other people, humans, animals, and other beings. That is Adi Bhautika. And the third one is Adhyatmika. Atma here means mind. As you know, like my own mind is the biggest source of my disturbances. My own mind, the emotions, thoughts, feelings, everything comes from there. I want quietude from all these 3 sources. And every Veda, so it's not every Upanishad has a separate Shanti mantra. Each Veda has its own Shanti mantra. So this Upanishad, which is Mundaka Upanishad and Mandukya Upanishad, comes from Atharva Veda. We are going to use the Shanti mantra of the Atharva Veda. So that's what. So all the Rig Veda specific Upanishad has one Shanti mantra. All the Samaveda specific Upanishad will have their own Shanti mantra. Like that, each Vedas, the Upanishad, from which Veda it comes in, you have to pick up the appropriate Shanti mantra. So here the Shanti mantra is a famous Shanti mantra, Om Bhadram Karnebhi. So Anu, we have Anu here. We can have live chanting of this mantra. We are not going to go verse by verse meaning. Let's listen to the meaning and let's get the gist and move on. So Anu, if you can chant.
Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Deva Bhadram Pashyirmakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangaistuštuvagum sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vruddhashravaha Swastinah Pusha Vishwavedaha Swastinastarkshyo Arishtanemihi Swastino Bruhaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi.
Good job, Anu. Thank you. So this is good. Okay.
Thank you.
The gist of this mantra is, I am invoking the grace of Ishvara in different forms. Here, the Ishvara is prayed in the form of Indra. The Ishvara is prayed in the form of Pusha. Pusha means Surya Devata. So, not the difference, right? The difference is, it's not Sun God, Indra God, then Brihaspati and Arishtanemi. No, God in the form of Indra. God in the form of Sun, God in the form of Arishtanemi, God in the form of Brihaspati. So how many gods are there? Only one. So never get confused. So the US government, for the tax related matter, it is IRS, right? So for the crime investigation, it is FBI. But how many government is there? Only one. Just like that, this is very important, please. We don't have many gods, we have only one God. So what is the prayer? 3 things we are asking. First one is health. Health is wealth. Without health, you cannot study Upanishads, you cannot do anything. So health. Second one is life, longevity. Without some time, I cannot study and comprehend this. So I pray for longevity. And third one is removal of any obstacles that comes in front of me. This is the gist. The actual meaning is much bigger, that we will cover when we go into the detailed study. But a couple of beautiful sentences are there. One is Bhadram Karnepi. Oh Lord, whatever I listen to, let that be good things. Whatever I see, let that be good things. I have a free eyes and ears. I can choose to listen whatever I want. I can choose to see whatever I want. But let me have that will, courage, and determination to listen to only good things, to see only good things. That's beautiful. This is the Vedas. See, beauty of the Vedas comes here. And then 4 devas are mentioned, right? Indra represents the Lord of the mind, right? And then means the second Lord mentioned is Pusha. Pusha represents Surya Devata, right? Surya Devata can be considered as the Lord of the intellect, shining. Then you have the Garuda, Arishtanemi, Lord in the form of Garuda, Pranashakti. And Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the individual Jiva. So there is a lot of symbolisms are here. We will see these things later. But understand that I am praying to one God, which manifests in different forms. I am asking for health, longevity, and removal of all obstacles. Removal of all obstacles. By that, I see only what is right. I hear only what is right. That's very important. So this is the Shanti Mantra. So with that, let's proceed. So that covers the overview. Now let's go to the introduction of the Upanishad. So let's start with the first chapter. The chapter is known as Mundaka. So Prathama Mundaka, chapter 1. What is the layout? There are 2 khandas in this chapter. Every chapter has 2 khandas. The first khanda has 9 mantras, and the second khanda has 13 mantras. So overall, 22 mantras out of 64 is from the Prathama Mundaka. And the khanda 1 has 2 topics. The first topic is an introduction. Second topic is Brahm, means so Avatarika. I'm going to use Sanskrit also, but I'll translate, right? The first topic is called Avatarika or introduction. And the second topic is called Brahma Vidya Samkshepa. Summary of the Brahma Vidya, whatever that is taught. This is what the first khanda. In the second khanda, which has 13 mantras, we have a topic Paravidya and Aparavidya, which we'll see. So the whole idea is why the Brahma Vidya Samkshepa, the style of the Upanishads or the style of all the Vedic literature is, before you introduce a topic, it is Samkshepa, Vikshepa, Samkshepa. This is the formula used in all the Vedic scriptures. You present an overview of the subject, then you go in detail, and finally you recap it. You see that in the Bhagavad Gita. Second chapter, it's a summary or overview or an index of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 2 to 17 is an elaboration of those topics. And chapter 18 is again a recap. So that model, Samkshepa, Vistara, Samkshepa, or this is the model used in the Upanishads and the Vedic literature. Classic example is what? News. All the news bulletin, how do? They start with the headlines. Then they take each of these headlines and elaborate and finally they come back and recap. This is the style. So today, what we are proposed to doing is Khanda 1. So that 9 mantras we are going to summarize. So let's continue. So the first topic in the Avatarika is talking about the Upanishad mentions that this teaching, what is the lineage of this teaching? This is not an ordinary teaching. This teaching comes from the Ishvara himself. So every Upanishad talks different style. Some Upanishads say, what is that? Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam. Somewhere say it comes from Vishnu. Somewhere it says it comes from Shiva. It doesn't matter. Shiva is what? Ishvara in the form of annihilator. Lord Vishnu is what? Ishvara, the same Ishvara in the form of sustainer. And Brahmaji is what? Ishvara in the form of creator. That's it. So in the beginning, the Upanishad says that this teaching has a great lineage. It starts from Ishvara. So it starts from Narayana, comes to Brahmaji. From Brahmaji, that teaching went to another sage called Atharva Rishi. The Atharva Rishi. And from this Atharva Rishi, it went to a sage called Angira. So this is the teaching lineage. And in this Upanishad, the conversation is between this Angira and Shaunaka. But how the teacher got the message? It is from an unbroken teaching tradition initiated from the Ishvara itself. So this is to give some importance, and this is to make sure that this is not a small teaching, an ordinary teaching. This to emphasize the value. Without the value, people won't take it. So probably that's another reason why this lineage is emphasized. So that's the first topic, Avatarika. And then now the Big Bang means it's going to get started. Sorry. So this is the next topic. So in the Avatarika itself, see, I haven't gone from the Avatarika. So there are 2 topics in Khanda 1. First one is Avatarika. Second one is Brahma Vidya Samkshepa. So in the Avatarika, the second topic is this sage, Shaunaka, goes to whom? Angiras, and ask a question. That is not an ordinary question. So you see, right, for getting into Wimbledon itself, the qualifying round itself, it's not easy. So the student's knowledge itself is amazing. And what is the question he asks? That is the second topic of the Avatarika. He tells, Kasminno Bhagavo Vijnade Sarvamidam Vijnadam Bhavati Iti. So, oh sir, oh revered sir, I see a vast universe around me. Everything is different from everything else. The sun is different from the moon. Atom is different from the galaxy. The plant is different. The animal is different. I see infinite expression of living and non-living beings in this universe. It's impossible for me to understand the fundamental reality of all these things. So I would like to know, just by knowing a piece of gold, help me to understand the constituent of every gold ornament. Just by knowing a little bit of water, it helps me to understand the entire different expressions of water. Like that, is there anything knowing which I can understand the secret of this universe? I can understand this expression of the universe. In other words, what is that fundamental building block, knowing which I can understand everything? Look at this. This is amazing, right? This is, so in physics, they were trying to do this. Theory of everything. You can search it, right? theory of everything. By what exactly? By knowing which, what is that fundamental source, knowing which you can everything. This is totally scientific and one of the best questions that is ever asked. Knowing what, I can understand everything. This is question. So the entire Upanishad is an elaboration of this question. This is Big Bang, like this is fantastic. So knowing means kasminno bhagavo vijñāti sarvamidam vijñādam bhavati iti. This is Upanishads, friends. This is the glory and the beauty of this literature. That's why this is spiritual gems. Okay. So that covers the first topic. Now we are going into the second topic. Second topic is Brahma Vidya Samkshepaha. Before elaborating the entire Brahma Vidya, he is giving a sneak preview of what is that Brahma Vidya. So let's see. So Brahma Vidya Samkshepaha, or the summary of the Brahma Vidya. So let's go there. So the sage Angira starts the teaching. How? He tells, you have asked me a wonderful question. You want to know that without, means I don't have a better word to use, and so I'm going to say that entity. Technically it is wrong. Knowing which you can see everything. Let's say that in math, arithmetic class, the teacher asks you a question. What? I brought a basket of candy into this class. I gave 2 candies to each people sitting in the first row, 3 candies to the second row, 4 candies to the third row, and I have 5 candies left. How many candies I brought into the class? How do you solve? Right now, do we know how many candies he brought? You don't know. So in algebra, what do? You assume a variable, x. Let x is the, I don't know why we use x, but x is the variable we use always. So x is the total number of candy. Then the first row had 5 students. So 5 plus x. Then second row has 10 students. 10 times 2x, that is so 20x. Finally, you solve it. So the whole exercise is what? Finding the value of that x. So here, Angira says, let that absolute reality, let us call it as Brahman, represented by a sound symbol called Om. So Om is a variable used put to represent Brahman or the absolute reality. And the entire spiritual journey is what? The entire math class is what? My journey to solve the value of x, the finding the value of x. So the entire spiritual journey for any seeker is what? To solve the value of Om, or the finding the value of Brahman, absolute reality. So here, so Brahman or the absolute reality is the essence of the universe. Now, how do you define this Brahman? He tells, we are going to define this Brahman in 2 different ways. The first way is called Swarupa Lakshanam, and the second way is called Tatastha Lakshanam. Don't get carried away by the name. Swarupa Lakshanam means a direct definition, whereas the Tatastha Lakshanam means it is an indirect definition. Okay, so let's say that I'll give you a simple example. I'm in a street. I'm looking for, say, Rohitji's house. So suppose I ask somebody, which house is Rohitji's house? One person can say that this house, it means with this particular structure, these many windows, these many floors, with these many steps, that house is Rohitji's house. So how he explained it is directly using the attributes or features of that house. And that is what is called Swarupa Lakshanam. The Lakshanam means it is the description of the nature of Brahman or the reality. That is the first way of directly representing it. And the second way of defining is, he can say that, you see that crow sitting in a house? That house is Rohitji's house. That definition doesn't give me anything, but it gives me a pointer to find Rohitji's house. That is Tatastha Lakshanam. So the Tatastha Lakshanam, whatever I say, that suppose that crow sit in another house, that definition goes wrong. So based upon the current place and time and circumstances, that definition looks good. It is not going to describe the nature of the house or the Brahman, the reality. It is indirectly going to define. Now, let's go and try to understand. This is there. So Tatastha Lakshanam, Swarupa Lakshanam. You can define anything in using these two methods. One is Swarupa Lakshanam, the other one is Tatastha Lakshanam. Please don't carry away by the name. These Sanskrit names are technical terms. So I'm trying to explain as much as possible in English, in our contemporary language. If you don't understand, make a note of it. At the end, we need to discuss it. Now, that's good. What is the Swarupa? The nature of what? House? Swarupa, it is easy. The Swarupa is a pen, very easy. The Swarupa of a computer, very easy. And now you're trying to define the God or the reality. That's not easy. So the Upanishad gives two definitions very simply. It is the absolute existence of everything. What does that mean? Absolute existence means, let's say that, what is the existence of this pen? I can say that this pen is made up of plastic. What exactly is plastic dependent upon? We can say that the atom. What exactly is the atom dependent upon? Something else, something else. So if you go all the way down, let's say that there is a fundamental particle or fundamental thing using which everything is built. That is the absolute existence. So that is called Sat in our Vedanta. Sat means the pure existence. So it is said that whatever you see in the universe, whatever that exists, it is Brahman. Second definition. What is the nature of that? It is pure, attributeless consciousness. You are conscious of yourself. So here, the idea is 2-minute background, because in science, up until now, the belief was that what? The consciousness is a property of the human body. But after a lot of research and a lot of analysis, they could not prove it. So in the last 10-20 years, a new thought came up. That is called, the consciousness is not an attribute of the body. The consciousness is separate from the body. That is in line with the Vedantic thinking. Still only a small percentage of the scientists support it, but it is growing. NYU, there is a professor called Dr. David Chalmers. He is leading this research. Our own Swami Sarvapriyananda ji is pretty much fond of this subject. So this is just an FYI. But the idea Vedanta tells is there is only one consciousness in the entire universe. Means I feel separate because of the limitations of my nervous system and the reflection of the consciousness. So means we are going to explore this topic in detail, but understand that the absolute reality, the Brahman, it is the pure consciousness. Just like one electricity enlivens the entire electrical equipment in the universe, right? My computer, my mobile phone, my mouse, my light, everything is an expression of one electricity. This computer looks different from that computer, but is the electricity different? There is only one electricity that enlivens the entire universe. Just like that, there is only one consciousness that gives consciousness to the entire entities. So that nature of the Brahman is existence and consciousness. This is the Swarupa Lakshana. And then when it comes to the Tatastha Lakshana, what he is saying, the Rishi is saying, but the Swarupa Lakshana I cannot even directly perceive. It is beyond my perception. So how can I see this Brahman, which is behind the entire universe? That is only through the Tatastha Lakshana. He tells, Brahman is nothing but Jagat Karanam, the cause of the entire universe. Why? Because the universe is visible to me. So through that visible universe, the sage is going to teach us a means to see that invisible Brahman. So the Tatastha Lakshana is pure consciousness and pure existence, and Swarupa Lakshana. And the Tatastha Lakshana is Jagat Karanam, the cause of the entire universe is Brahman. So these two definitions are given. So let's continue. So the first definition, right? So the first definition of Swarupa Lakshana, let's just listen. Means we won't go in detail, but at least listen the mantra.
Nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam tadavyayam yadbhutayonim paripashyanti dhiraha yathor.
So this definition tells the Swarupa Lakshana of the Brahman. It tells that unperceivable, the nature of the consciousness. The consciousness you cannot perceive with your sense organs. See, if I take this pen, I can see it. If I taste a food, I can taste it. A song, I can listen. This usual means of knowledge, of knowing, is useless to know the consciousness. Because what? Why? The seeker is the consciousness, right? The subject is the consciousness. Second thing is, it is means I'm not going through it doesn't have an origin. It doesn't have a color or attributes which eyes can perceive. It has millions of expression. The whole universe is an expression of consciousness. Then it's subtle, it's all-pervading, and that is the source of all the creation in the universe. That's what it is. This is the Swarupa Lakshana of Brahman. So it tells it is the absolute existence of the universe, and it's the absolute consciousness of the attributeless consciousness of the universe. A simple example for you to understand this, 2 minutes example, is the Swapna Drishtanta. Imagine that you are dreaming. In that dream, you are in the most wonderful place of the universe. Let's say that in Hawaii. So you see the beaches, you see the forest, you see the villages, you see the mountains, you see everything. What exactly is the beach? Where it's my mind stuff. Everything is my mind stuff. Where exactly everything exists? In my mind. So like that, the consciousness, everything, just like a whole dream exists in the world of mind, the whole universe exists in the realm of consciousness. Everything manifest in your world is nothing but the manifestation of the consciousness. So this is a simple definition. We will see more. Let's continue. The whole Upanishad is that. So right now, really, we are doing the summary, but it is going to come in detail. So let's go to the second definition, which is the Tatastha Lakshana. What is Tatastha Lakshana?
गणनाभिसृजते गृह्णते च यथा पृथिव्यामोषधयः सम्भवन्ति यथा सतः पुरुषात् केशलोमानि तथाक्षरात् सम्भवतीह विश्वम्.
So the Lakshana is Jagat Karanam, the cause of the universe. One thing, Upanishad Shankaracharya wants when he gets into this, all these are example. Again, example. No example is complete. So the Upanishad is going to elaborate. The reason why I quoted these two mantras is in the first Khanda, these are the two most important mantras. Mantra 6 and Mantra 7. So in the Mantra 7, he tells, just like a spider, right, creates a web and finally takes it out. Just like the herbs born out of the earth, just like the hair comes out of the human head, like that, from that absolute reality, the whole universe came into being. The reason why I said the example is an example, I will quote that in a second. I'll show that this example has limitation. But here, what the Rishi is trying to communicate is the whole universe came from that absolute reality, one source, call it Brahman, call it Om, whatever it is. So this is the Tatastha Lakshana of the nature of Brahman. So Rupa Lakshana means it is pure existence and consciousness. And the Tatastha Lakshana is Jagat Karanam, the cause of the whole universe is Brahman. So let's elaborate that topic a little bit down. So Tatastha Lakshana tells Brahman is Jagat Karanam. And how, because see, the Brahman in its nature, it is not perceivable, right? That was the first thing in the Tatastha Lakshana, Swarupa Lakshana. You cannot use any of your known means of knowledge to know the Brahman. So how, when you cannot perceive something directly, you may have to use indirect perception. And how to know this Brahman? The unseen Brahman can be seen through the manifestation of that Brahman, which is the creation or the universe. So you cannot see the God, but you can see the God through the manifestation of the God, which is the world. So now that technique is elaborated in the second Mundaka, right? So that is where beautiful verses are there. You will have clarity on the Ishvara Darshana. Don't think that tomorrow Ishvara will come in front of you in the form with 4 hands, and not at all. How you can see Ishvara is explained in the second chapter. We are going to elaborate that. How? This is the means. Through the seen universe, right? Manifested universe. The sage is going to teach us how to see that unmanifested Brahman. This is the technique. And the relationship between the Brahman and the universe is what? Karya Karana Sambandha. Sambandha means relationship. And Karya means cause. And Karana means, Karana means cause, Karya means effect. Cause, effect, relationship. This is the relationship between Brahman, the absolute reality, and the universe we see. So let's continue. To give an example, the Rishi uses a few examples. If you look at gold and infinite varieties of gold ornaments, you can always see, you can say that the cause, Karanam, is the gold and the Karyam is the ornaments. The clay and the pots. The Karanam is the clay, the Karyam is the pot. Infinite expressions of water. The Karanam is the water. The waves or the tsunamis or the ripples or everything is nothing but a manifestation of water. So this infinite expressions of life, infinite expressions of the physical universe, the galaxy, the Brahmanda and everything, it is nothing but the cause is Brahman. Now, if you really look at these things, there are three corollaries. I'm going to give additional three corollaries, but let's start with that. So the three corollaries, whatever you can infer is, every effect, every karya has a karana. If you take any of these pot, any of the other expressions of clay, there is a cause. And what is that cause? Clay. Every water, every tsunami, every wave, every tsunami, every water manifestation has a cause. It is water. Every ornaments, whether it is a chain or a ring or a bangle or a necklace, whatever it is, there is a cause. Gold. So the universe, if you extend that, and its entire expression has a cause. And what is that cause? Brahman or the reality. That's number one. Number two, the effects, plural, effects, plural, are nothing but cause itself in a different form. The golden ornaments are nothing but gold in a different form. All the pots are nothing but the pot itself in a different form. All the waves, tsunamis and everything are nothing but water in a different form. That is the second thing. So the entire universe, from Stampa to Brahma, Shankaracharya's expression, from Pipilika to Brahmaji and to Brahma, is nothing but an expression of that absolute reality. Now, the third thing is, if you take the effect, cause from the effect, if you remove the effect, cause from the effect, what remains? Nothing remains. If you take the entire gold from a golden ornament, if you take the entire clay from the pot, nothing remains. So if you take the Brahman out of the world, nothing remains. This is the problem with the example. When you say hair, it is different from the body, right? It came out of the body, it is different. That is the shortcoming of those examples. So that's why these example gives a little bit, but this is also again example. It's just to give some indications. So let's continue. If that is the case, right? So Brahman or the reality is, Brahman or the reality is the cause of the universe. And there are, whenever you think about the cause of something, there are two types of causes. I know that I'm dumping a lot of information. Please don't worry. We are going to elaborate this later. So any cause, any object, right? There are two types of causes. Let me explain with an example. If you take a pot, for anybody to make a pot, there are two things required. One is called Upadana Karanam, and the second one is called Nimitta Karanam. Upadana Karanam is material cause. What exactly is the material cause in the case of a pot? It is the clay. And Nimitta Karanam, an intelligent cause. Somebody has to make that, use that clay and make a pot. So that is the pot maker. But here there is a difference. That is what it is. Here the Nimitta Karana is Brahman. The material cause is, the intelligent cause is Brahman, the reality. And the material cause is also Brahman, the reality. So that is why it is called Apinna Nimitta Upadana Karana. Brahman is the cause of the universe. Brahman is the material cause of the universe. Brahman is the intelligent cause of the universe. So in short, Shaunaka's question is answered as what? Kasminno vijñāte sarvamidam vijñādam bhavati. So he tells, by Brahma vijñāte sarvamidam vijñādam bhavati. If you know that Brahman, which is the cause of everything, which is the material cause and the intelligent cause of the universe, you will be able to know everything, dear disciple. This is how the first khanda ends. Look at the beauty and the glory of this teaching. So let me explain one more topic in that first chapter. Sorry. So this is what it is. A few more corollaries we can derive. The first one is, Brahman is ekam. There is only one cause for the entire universe, whereas Jagat or the universe is anekam. Millions of galaxies. Each galaxy has millions of expressions. So Brahman is ekam. Second one is Brahman is nityam, whereas Jagat is anityam. Anityam means, don't think that it is unreal. Some people translate it as unreal. No, it has a relative existence. See, the pot has a relative existence, but even after the pot gets crashed, what happens? The clay remains. A particular wave X has a limited duration, but water survives. Water was there before, water will be there after. So the world will come, the world will be there, and the world will go, but the Brahman will always remain. So the Brahman is ekam, Brahman is nityam, and Brahman alone is satyam. What is satyam? Satyam means not dependent upon anything else. Right? That is the exact meaning. Not dependent upon anything else. So this is Brahman is ekam. Satyam means abhadidam satyam, that which is not dependent upon anything else. Whereas the clay, relative sense, the clay is not dependent upon anything else. Whereas the pot is depending upon clay for its existence. So the world is dependent upon Brahman for its existence, whereas the Brahman or the reality is not dependent upon anything for its existence. So this is what it is. So the world is dependent, and the existence of that world or the universe is Brahman. This is the Tatastha Lakshanam. So by looking at that world or the universe, which has millions of expressions, anekam, which is anityam, and which is means it's the word of not satyam is not asatyam, it is called mithya. Mithya. There are three words. One is called satyam, mithya, and tucham. Satyam means absolute existence, and mithya means relative existence, and tucham means no existence. So some people say Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. What? They say world has no existence. No, world has relative existence. That's it. So this is the Tatastha Lakshana. So the second topic had two major areas. The definition of Brahman. The Brahman is defined in two different ways. One using Swarupa Lakshanam and then using Tatastha Lakshanam. Swarupa Lakshanam is a direct definition, whereas the Tatastha Lakshanam is an indirect definition. In the Swarupa Lakshanam, the Brahman is described as what? Like it is the pure existence and the pure consciousness. In the Tatastha Lakshanam, Brahman or the reality is expressed as the cause of the universe. And this cause of the universe, we defined certain corollaries, because Brahman is Satyam, Nityam, and Satyam, Ekam, and Nityam. Whereas the universe is what? It is Anekam, Anityam, and Mithya. This is the first khanda. So that covers the first khanda, and let's quickly get into the summary of what we covered in 2 seconds. So on a high level, this Mundaka Upanishad is part of the Atharva Veda. This is a conversation between two people, sage Angiras and Shaunaka. And the first Mundaka, first Prathama Khanda, starts with an inquiry of the fundamental building block of the universe. And we found that means the sage says that Brahman is the fundamental cause of the entire universe. And this Brahman can be defined in two ways. One is using Swarupa Lakshana, which is explained as pure consciousness, and the Tatastha Lakshanam, it is the cause of the universe. That's it. So with that, what we can do is we can do the closing prayer, and then we can have the Q&A. Bhunaji, if you don't mind, if you could do the prayer, then we will stop the live stream and we can have any questions.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi